Now let's move on to creating one-dimensional and two-dimensional arrays with Numpy. But first I'm going to give you a short overview. So Numpy is short for numerical Python, and it works primarily with numerical data. So a one-dimensional array is like a grid of values. It's like a list, and similar to a list, it is ordered mutable and it's enclosed in block brackets. One of the differences is that the values in a Numpy array needs to be of the same data type. So now a two-dimensional array is like a list of lists. It's arranged in rows and columns, and the 0 axis represents the direction of the rows and the 1 axis represents the direction of the columns. The benefits of using Numpy arrays over lists is that they can be stored more efficiently, and they're useful when working with large amounts of data. So let's create a 1D array. But before we do that, we need to import the Numpy library. So we do that by import Numpy. And since we don't want to type out this whole Numpy word every time we refer to a function in Numpy, we write as NP. So now we always only use NP when we're calling Numpy functions. So let's run that. And you see everything is fine. So now let's create a list and then convert it into a Numpy array. So I'm gonna create a variable li, and our list is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I'm gonna set li to np. We're calling what we imported Numpy as np dot array, and in brackets we put our variable. And now let's call our variable, and you see it is an array. Let's see the type. And you see it gives us a Numpy one-dimensional array. Let's look at the shape of this. And one way we could look at the shape, we type np.shape, and in brackets we put our array, and let's run that. And this means that there are 5 elements in each row, but it is a one-dimensional array, so there's only one row. A better way to do this is just by calling our variable period shape. Let's run that, and we get the shape of our array. We can also create an array by just passing a list into our function. So np array, and our list could be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's run that, and you see we have a Numpy array. Another thing we can do is turn a tuple into array. So np.array. In our previous lessons, we know that a tuple is surrounded by brackets. And let's run that, and you see it is an array. Now let's move on to creating 2D arrays. And let's create a variable called rnp.array. And then we're gonna put our two-dimensional arrays. 2, 2, 2. When creating two-dimensional arrays, we need to put it in a nested list. So we need to surround all of this with block brackets. So we put one here and one here. And now let's call our array. And you see we get a 3 by 3 matrix. On the 0 axis, there's 3 rows, and on the 1 axis, there's 3 columns. Let's look at the shape. The first arguments represent the 0 axis, which is 3, and the second argument represents the 1 axis, which is also 3. Let's make some changes. Delete this, run this cell, and run this cell. And you see on the 0 axis, we have 2 elements, and then the 1 axis, we have 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's pass in variables with stored lists into the array function to create a 2-dimensional array. So let me copy this here, bring it here, set li2 to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now let's pass in our variables into our function. So let's create a variable array2 np.array. I'm gonna pass in our li variable and li2 variable. And now let's look at that. Oh, we need to surround this with block brackets. Now let's run that. And you see we got our 2-dimensional array. Let's take the shape. And you see we have 2 rows and 5 columns. The 0 axis is 2 and the 1 axis is 5. Let me go through one more additional topic. So I just wanted this is a 1D array. So R1, set that equals to np.array. Let's put in a list, 1 on 1. And I want to say this is a 2D array. I want to set R2 to np.array. And I'm also going to set 1, 1, 1, 1. If we want this to be a 2D array, we need to make it a nested list. So we do that by putting it inside block brackets. So now let's run that. And let's look at the shape of R1. And it tells us that it is a 1-dimensional array with 4 elements in 1 row. And now let's check the shape of our 2D array. And you see it tells us that it is a 2D array because the 0 axis is 1 and the 1 axis is 4. Let's take a look at it. And it's a nested array.